As you can see, tonight we're missing a welcoming face by the name of Rick, Man-at-Arms. So we have Elmer Fudd sitting in his stead tonight. Elmer, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, dude. I am happy that he's not here. I love him. I mean, what?
Yeah. Hi, hey. Rick. So,
taking over.
And we brought a special guest along tonight. He goes by Kingsley Mac on PS4 and PC, yes?
Yes.
Host of a podcast. What is the name of your podcast, sir?
The podcast is called The Guardian Hub.
The Guardian Hub. And how long have you been doing this?
We are pretty new. Only a few weeks here. We have about 3 episodes recorded and 2 live so far on iTunes.
Okay.
And other podcast hosting sites.
So,
yes.
As would be normal, Rick would still be in his rant screaming and telling us, all about the show and everything. We're going to kind of just skip all that because I think we have a lot of things to get to tonight with these two fine gentlemen. So
it does feel kind of weird though.
What, without having Rick?
Yeah.
It feels more calm.
Could you just say welcome to the fucking show for me?
How about I do that at the end when we totally go off the air, so that everything can just be out of kilter.
Okay, deal. Yeah, let's end the show with his intro. I like.
Yes. So it makes total sense. So, as I was just mentioning, Kingsley, you do a podcast. Elmer, you do a podcast. Obviously, we're not all on the same podcast as a rule. We just seem to be kind of circling each other a lot. So I thought for the first part of our session tonight, we would talk about why in a world filled with Destiny podcasts, we felt like doing our own Destiny podcast was a good idea. And then what is the mission statement behind those podcasts? And what I mean by mission statement is when Rick and I, sat down and we started talking about doing this one, we said, first of all, alcohol, because alcohol. And second of all, we were both gamers who are not the top 5%, 1% elite, gamers. And when we watch a lot of these bigger podcasts, we feel like they are the top 5%, and they kind of, even if they don't want to, and they're not intending to, they're almost talking down to a lot of their viewers and listeners. And we did not want to come across with that feel. We are very much the everyman gamer. And that's kind of our mission statement. We want to come at you like, exactly like we understand. We don't know all the terminology that these guys do. We're not as good at it. We're not as good at the game. So we want to have a conversation with those people.
That's your opinion.
So the hosts of our podcast generally are not very good gamers. Not including Elmer, and I'm not including Kingsley. I'm just saying Ryan and Rick are not very good as far as... Even though Rick, you can see every once in a while, he does pull off some crazy stuff in PvP. Especially with his knees and elbows and whatever the hell else he does. But anyways... So, Kingsley, since you're the newbie, why don't we start with you, the newbie to the podcasting world? Where did you come from as far as your podcasting? And then again, what is your mission statement?
Exactly. Well, it's a good question. Yeah, I thought about that also. Why
Why start a podcast?
When I thought why I wanted to start a Destiny podcast, because there's so many out there, I thought, well, I always wanted to do a podcast, and so why not? And I felt like I was just thinking about a month ago, I'm finally going to sit down and do it. I don't care that there's a lot of podcasts. I'm just going to create one. I kind of saw with my play style playing Destiny that I'm in it a lot. I play some other games too, but I'm in it even when some of my friends are not in Destiny. So I figured I know my podcast would likely stick with being able to talk about Destiny. And that's just kind of dark.
Okay.
And as far as what it's about, kind of, if I had to pick like a mission statement or what it's about, is it's chill talk also. Like you said, we don't pretend to be good players or anything like that, but we want to be a place, the Guardian Hub, a place where people can meet together, different communities. We want to spotlight different streamers, podcasters, artists, anyone in the community that has something to share. If we have time, we want to bring them on and talk about that. And we also want to be a place that we can give tips from plebs to other people. And so along with that, we just decided, let's start a podcast. And we want to talk about Destiny. We love it a lot, but we're also not afraid to talk about criticisms or have people on that have issues with Destiny. But basically, we're in love with the game, and that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, something I liked, because I listened to both your episodes today. They were lovely, by the way. Something I liked that you kind of, I don't know if you knew that you brought it up on both episodes, was that you weren't going to cover the news, because there's a lot of Destiny podcasts out there that do that, but if it comes up naturally in conversation, you would. But I think the phrase you used was, what was it? You want to use it more as a platform to tell your guys' stories of your experiences in the game, mostly.
Yes. Yeah. Our experiences in the game, we will talk about the news when it comes up, but we don't read the TWAB. We just kind of just naturally come up with a conversation. What did we do this week? Oh, and by the way, what do you think about, the enhancement core situation? And then we can talk about, they told us this in the news, but how does it really affect us?
Yeah, that was one of the conversations Rick and I had. I said, do you want to read the TWAB? And he says, if you want to hear what the TWAB is, you can tune into 50, Destiny podcasts and 50 non-Destiny podcasts, and they will read it to you every week. So you pick out little pieces or whatever, but why would you go verbatim through it anyway? So what you're doing is you're taking a half hour of your own time. You could be doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind me asking, you were doing a podcast before this one?
Yeah, I was occasionally on another podcast called Hoot Dog Radio, and a bunch of good guys where we have a clan. I'm in this clan, and it started as a Destiny podcast also, and now it's a general gaming podcast. And so I have some experience podcasting, and just decided to start my own and take it from there.
Okay.
You're a natural, my man. I like it. You've always co-hosted on past stuff, and I was like, oh, he's hosting this, and I was like, he's doing a really good job.
I know. I guess I wanted some control. No, actually, I can't look all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Also, on my podcast, I didn't mention, but my beautiful co-host Sin. A lot of people know Sin in the community. He goes by Blue Angel Sin on PS4 and Sin_media on Twitter. But Sin and I host our podcast together, and he helps with the editing, but I like all the behind the scenes stuff and coming up with the ideas of what to talk about.
Okay. So, and we'll shift gears here just a hair, and I'll ask kind of Elmer the same thing. Elmer, where do your guys' podcast come from? What was the birthplace of that? And also, again, what is your mission statement over there at Just Some Guardians?
Just Some Guardians, yeah. Actually, it was pretty close to you and Rick. Me and my co-host Nick. Wow, we got Rick and super confused. Okay.
That's.
But so we were listening to a lot of Destiny podcasts when Destiny 2 was coming close to releasing for information stuff, and we discovered the same thing. We're like, man, these guys are kind of like the top of the elite, and we're like, what are they talking about right now? And so our big thing was we wanted to have a more a podcast from the side of the very casual player. Like we have very busy lives. We don't get to play very often, so it'd be more interesting from us to hear people talk about how they're progressing through this game with very limited time instead of these guys that are like, I play 300 hours a week and there's nothing to do, and like it's so tiring to listen to. So that was the big focus there. And then our format is the every other week because we don't play enough to have enough stuff to talk about every week. So that's what started that week off and on.
Is it a situation where you don't play enough, or is it a situation where there's just not enough content to talk about?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. Another thing to remember is we started a month before Curse of Osiris launched.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a lot to talk about. But, it got to the point where our episodes were becoming too long because we'd be talking about Destiny stuff, and then we want to talk about other things going on in our lives or other nerdy things we were interested in, and then it just took up way too much time. We're like, okay, that's enough content for a whole nother episodes. That's why we started doing the every other week.
Okay. So, when you guys are, and I'm going to kind of lay this out for both of you, and I'll tell you kind of like what Rick and I do too. When you guys run into lulls, like I kind of feel like now is a lull in Destiny content. There's nothing real exciting going on right now, at least from our perspective. What do you guys do to pass the time on your shows?
I do raiding. I love raiding. I raid all the time. I raid with people better than me, and I help Sherpa people that haven't done raids before. I could raid every night.
Oh, we're going to be friends.
No, you should. Literally, this guy raids every night.
PC. If you play on PC, man.
Yes, I do play on PC also. PS4 and PC.
Okay.
This is the man that him and his co-host actually got. What? Yeah, they got me my first. What was the first raid lair? The very first
Eater
one.
of Worlds.
Eater of Worlds is clear.
Okay.
And then they got my co-host Nick his Whisper of the Worm.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Very connected, bonded. I love you.
And do you take the Whisper of the Worm to bed with you every night and cuddle it?
Oh yeah, there's whispering, baby.
So, all right, Elmer, what do you do to fill up your time when there's not a whole lot in the community to talk about?
Well, it's kind of worked out in our favor when we hit these lull periods, having the setup we have with 1 week Destiny content, 1 week our nerd talks or whatever. Because when we get in a lull, it just kind of becomes every week is a nerd talk. And then when Destiny content comes back around, we just ease right back into how we had it before. So it's not like that big of a change. We're just doing more of one thing we were already doing.
Okay. And do you guys catch, like backlash at all if you go off script from Destiny?
No, I mean, mostly because no one listens to us. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, it's been really supportive. Honestly, like, especially in kind of the podcasting group of people we've come in contact with, it's just a lot of people in the same situation all of us are. We got lives, we got jobs, There's so many good games out there right now. So for the most part, everyone that's listened has been super understanding when we kind of switch things up.
Okay. Kingsley, what about you on your past incarnation and now?
Well, I feel like we're willing to talk about other games. I mean, I do play a couple other games occasionally, but with my new podcast, I don't really have a feel yet for what that'll be. I feel like listening to another podcast I like, Destiny Reset, I feel like they've been able to go through the lulls. I feel like I can also. I have enough to talk about even during the lulls. I like Destiny that much.
All right. Let's see. So what got you into Destiny and what made you love it to the point where you're now sitting here 5 years later doing podcasts? What is it that's like, oh my God, I'm captivated by this game, coming back and still playing?
Man, that is a good question. I've been into video gaming my whole life. I started as a kid. My dad bought ColecoVision and Atari and NES and all these systems, right? And I've played all the way through. I mean, I took some breaks for 10 years, when I was a new dad and whatnot, but probably similar to a lot of our stories. But I had a PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation 4, and I'd heard about Destiny, but I'm not a day one player like a lot of people, and I wish I was. But I heard about this game. Just looking at the artwork and some of the previews, I couldn't tell exactly what it was and if I would like a game like that. but I'd always heard about the game.
I could see that, yeah.
I was always more into just single player games like Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, games like that. All right. So I'm like, Destiny, is that just like a PvP shooter game? Because I was never really into that. Like, my wife even played Halo back in the day, but I didn't because I wasn't into games like that as much, even though it has a campaign too. Anyways, so the Christmas after Taken King, that was 2015 or 16? I'm trying to remember when.
14 is when the game launched. Taken King was...
So 15, yeah.
So 15.
Anyways, she had bought that as a Christmas present for me. She's like, oh, I heard this game's cool. The guys at Best Buy said it's good. It has the Taken King expansion now. Check it out. So I got that for Christmas. I didn't pop it in my PlayStation until like end of January, February. I'm like, okay, let's see what this game's all about. And then I popped in. I'm like, whoa, what is this game? I don't know what it was about it. And just the looter shooter aspects, the exploration, tons of campaign story missions. It was kind of nice coming into the game after Taken King and all this content had been released. So I could just go into a bunch of stuff right away. And I'm like, this game is great. And I just started playing it. I got to a point where I realized, okay, I've done pretty much everything. I know about these raids, but you have to do them with other people. So I started looking for people, found other podcasts to listen to, started getting my first group together. And when I did my first raid, which was actually King's Fall was my very first raid because it was the popular one at the time.
Kingsley and King's Fall. Hey.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. Like
100%.
And I liked the raid so much that I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. And I went back and did all the other raids and started just playing with other people. Also dabbled into PvP some. That was the first time I had jumped into PvP was with Destiny. I don't vehemently hate it, but I'm never going to choose PvP as my first choice.
I'm pretty sure you hate it.
At times I do, actually.
I've heard those words come out of your mouth.
At times I do, but I actually had some fun in Iron Banner this last week.
You were talking about rating. I want to ask this question, and there's a reason why I'm going to ask this question. What are your guys' ages?
I am 41.
I am 72. Feeling pretty good.
Okay, so I'm also 41. And I'm wondering...
Whoa.
Yeah, is the lack of interest in PvP because we're not necessarily the most skilled competitive players out there? Like I walk into PvP, and when Halo 2 and 3 were around and I was still at the age where I could compete with the guys, I enjoyed it a lot more. And when I was 35 or 36 and I knew those skills were going, I really was not a PvP fan of Destiny, or of Halo, or of any, I mean, I love Apex, but goddamn, those kids smoke me. So.
It's very true. Age has a lot to do with it, and the younger kids don't believe that. They're like, you hear some of these streamers like, anyone can do this. Well, there's people with some, they have lesser motor skill abilities that it's harder to do certain things, and as you age, your hands get a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm pretty good for my age, but still, like, I'll be raiding with people and they'll just be smoking me. I'm like, I don't take it personally. I'm good for what I am. But the PvP thing is twofold. It's that I do feel like, I'm not gonna be able to compete against these kids, but also I just was never really into the competitive type. I wasn't like the alpha, like, go shoot them, kill them type personality. I was just more like a laid back.
Is that your alpha voice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, exactly. I'm not.
Oh, and real quick, big shout out. Rick is over in the chat just blowing us up, and he asked a question, so I thought I'd throw it out to you. He said, have you tried yoga for your fingers?
Yeah, that's a good point. I should try that.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So
yes, going to a massage, but can you just do my fingers? Is that fine?
Hey, but there's something to be said about, I believe, if we continue to play video games in an older age, we can stay more nimble and be a little more interactive with things rather than just being a couch potato watching TV all day.
Absolutely. Wives appreciate it, am I right?
My wife absolutely enjoys the fact that I play games. So, do either of your guys' wife play with you?
Yeah, actually, Stacy, I know Elmer knows this. she's been big in Destiny at times. She's done raids with us also. She's been off the game for a while now, but she does play with me from time to time. So shout out to Stacy Armstrong is her gamer tag, and she, supports what I do. As long as we hang out and we're cool. She does her thing and I do my thing.
Okay. What about you, Elmer? Since I know you're over there in the chat right now. I'm reading your chats and I'm cracking up and I'm trying to pay attention to the conversation and I'm like, there's too much.
Sorry, I'm not slowing down. Me and my wife play a lot of games together, but she's not like she hates shooters, so we don't play Destiny together. But we've got quite a few things we play. When
my wife and I first started dating, she is a lot younger, and she was telling me some gaming stories after having just gotten out of college and everything, and she was telling me they used to sit around in their dorm rooms every night and play Halo, and how she was really good at Halo. So because of that, I actually went out and bought an Xbox, because I didn't even have one at the time. I didn't have the Xbox One, and I bought Halo, and in my house we had I have a projection screen, and it's 107 inches and surround sound and everything. Now also understand my wife is hearing impaired, so this was very kind of a drastic situation for her. I put Halo on, it was Halo 4, and on the 107 inch screens, full surround sound, turn off all the lights, because obviously I was kind of hoping for something else besides playing Halo. And we're playing in the very first mission. You go, as the Master Chief, you go climbing up a ladder, and I think it was an elite, pops out at you and kind of tries to knock you off the ladder. It's more of a jump scare tactic. And she threw the controller at the wall and has never played a video game since. She's like, nope, done. Because all that noise goes off and kind of makes her, holy shit. And like you said, with her being hearing impaired, she has a hearing aid, so it's like blasting in her ear, and she's seeing this big monster. She's like, I'm fucking done. And that was it. I still have a dent in my wall from where the controller hit it. And so, yeah, my wife does not play games with me anymore.
That's incredible.
And Rick says, get a new wife at that point. So, all right. So, I guess moving forward, what do you guys have goal-wise for your podcast? I think I know Elmer, which is to get listeners. But, Kingsley, kind of what's your goal for your podcast? Do you have, we'd like to hit a certain amount of followers, listeners, whatever? Or do you just want to do it for a year? I guess, kind of what are you thinking?
Well, we're in episode 3. So I think today we have about 2 episodes left, and then we'll be done. So, and sorry if I'm cutting out here, everyone, but we have about 2 episodes left, and then we'll be done. No, I'm just kidding. The podcast
Perfect.
is really just for me. I love to help people out, but I don't have a goal to ever make money on this. I'm not a streamer either. I just want to do a podcast, and I just want to have a place to just talk about stuff. And it's really for me. If people listen, great. I don't expect anyone to listen. That's fine. It's just a cathartic thing. So it's more to just have something that I can even look back on and say, hey, I did this. So that's my main goal.
Okay. Elmer, kind of what is your group's real goal?
Yeah, well, something Kingsley touched on actually kind of, I think it was a good point from something we should have probably touched on earlier when we were talking about our actual shows and such, is that I have a train of thought and I lost it. Wow, this sucks. It was really good, guys. We all would have wept. The heavens would have opened. Angels would have came down. Oh, man.
So, how about I fill in with one of the goals that I had for the podcast? And
cool, I'll just interrupt you.
Maybe, if you think of it, chime back in. So, when I first started talking to Rick, it was about it was a business idea that I'd had, and I was wanting to have him do some stuff with his creative comedy brain, and got to talking to him, and we were, emailing back and forth and chatting on the phone back and forth. And then he pops onto the DDU one night as a guest host because one of their guys was gone, and I watched him, and I could tell this guy is definitely extremely comfortable with it. And if you know who Rick is, and yes, we're gonna blow you for a minute, Rick. He's
we're gonna blow Rick.
Yes.
What?
Yes, live on the air. So
This is the best day of my
we're
life.
gonna get kicked off of Twitch. So, but if you know him, he's never not on. You know, that comedy, that brain is working, and it was kind of like I wanted a platform for him to where he can show off and maybe build up his viewership, his followers, and have a platform where, you know, he does those videos, but they're kind of sporadic at best, is the best way to say it.
That one's my fault. That was my phone this time.
Oh, I muted mine.
Can you believe this?
My wife's
I
texting.
made fun of you last time.
My wife's texting me from upstairs, so I finally muted mine. But so I really wanted the platform for Rick because he seemed like he had the comedy, you know, brain, but then he also had some good insights. So it's kind of like, okay, let's build up his viewership and, you know, just try to help him out a little bit. So that was really you know, one of the foundations. Did you remember? So go for it.
I did. Sorry, I was busy talking to chat and almost forgot again. I'm an idiot. Sorry, just looking at chat again.
Uh-huh.
So when we were talking about reasons why we started the show, a question you'd asked that I don't think any of us answered was why in a market where there's so many Destiny podcasts. And, you know, Kingsley brought up a good point. It's just like, because we can, you know, you just want to talk.
Right.
It's not that we think we're going to completely change the scene. It's addicting. Podcasting is absolutely addicting. Yeah. And just to sit down and, you know, it's one thing to chat and party while you're gaming and stuff, but to just have none of that else going on and just carry the conversation, I love it.
Right. Yeah, I told Rick up at the beginning when I asked him if he wanted to do it, I said, I'm not in this to compete with, at the time, Guardian Radio and DCP. You know,
and
that's
you
not
smoked them.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, look at our numbers. We're at 9 compared to what 1900 that the DCP gets, and you know, I mean, Guardian Radio used to do some pretty good numbers too. So yeah. King, I guess any kind of thoughts, any more thoughts about kind of your direction, you know, your goals for your podcast, you know, anything that we didn't touch on or that you'd like to touch on?
No, that's pretty much it. I want to just continue to have various people on. Anyone's invited. If they have something to share, we talk about something that is important to them, either a stream, their podcast, their artwork, whatever. Then we talk about what we're doing in the game, and then we just have fun shooting the breeze. And that's basically where it's going to go. I mean, maybe ask me in a year, it might be different. Or like I said, we'll be done by then. We'll keep going.
Oh, okay.
I hope so.
So in your guys' past podcasting life and current, you guys have had guests. If you had to pick a type of guest, what is your favorite type of guest to have? Do you like to have like newbie players? Do you like to have the more established, well-known guys? Is there something that you really look for or really hate in the type of guest that you have?
Well, for me, I absolutely love when we have a guest that's someone that may not be as well known at all, mm-hmm. and has never done a podcast before, but because anyone that listens to him wants to, but some people think it's actually a bigger deal than it is. I'm literally just talking into a microphone. It's really not that big a thing, which is what I had to get over before I started mine. But it's my favorite guests are the people that have never done this, and they're just like, that was so much fun when it ends, and they just go on. You see them guesting everywhere else, or they start their own show, and yeah, those are my favorite.
Okay. Kingsley, what about you? Have you had a lot of experience with guests so far?
No, not too much so far, but I would have to say it goes both ways. I love... I not that I don't want to have like bigger people on, but it's I just want to be able to just be chill and talk to just anyone who wants to come on and talk about stuff. And I guess if I was interviewing someone big, then you'd feel the pressure of like, oh, do you have to cater towards them, or are they catering towards me? But I'm pretty chill about it either way. I swing both ways.
Okay, so I'll tell you,
I've seen the vids.
I'll tell you,
I see you, baby.
We've had, you know, Rick and I, when we first started out, we had a couple of guys who were basically just friends of mine that aren't podcasters. They don't really have any desire to be podcasters, whatever. And we had a lot of fun with those guys. But then we had a gracious guy come in, and we had Fallout on. And right before the show, and you could just see it on Fallout. He's been asked to be on so many podcasts. He's just like, man, I am tired of Destiny and talking about it all the time. Not in a bad way, but just, oh my God, the 15th time this week. And
oh, yeah. 100%.
Right before we go live, Rick says to him, we're not going to talk about Destiny and the normal shit that you normally talk about on every podcast. And you could just see the man perk up and get real happy. And he's like, all right, let's do this, boy. And I tell you, as much as I hate to say, and you do, man, you totally feel the pressure. And we get, a bunch of people jump in and everything. And he did something, and I think he saw it on us, where he flipped the script and almost became the host for a few seconds. And made us comfortable asking him questions, and he kind of took over for a second and made it a lot more fun. And guests that are like that, where they're that gracious to say, "I see you're struggling, I'm going to help you out," is something that is. I mean, you can't ask for a better guest than that. So, when you run into that, make sure that you're kind of very complimentary of them, but enjoy it, because Rick and I had so much fun interviewing him that night.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
So, all right.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, with Fallout, when you were like, we're not talking Destiny, because for a while now, every time we get a guest that's in the Destiny community, they have another podcast or something, we're like, okay, do you want to do a Destiny show, or do you want to be for one of the Nerd Talks? And 9 out of 10 times, we're like, I want to be there for a Nerd Talk and talk everything else. We're like, sweet.
We talked, I think, 10 minutes about ramen noodles that night. So.
Yeah, you did. That's right.
so I'll tell you a quick story about how Fallout came on our show. Was his computer blew up, and he called me because of my other job to get some help with his computer. And I spent 2 nights on the phone with him on Skype, and he walking him through, try this, let's see if we can figure out what's going on with your computer. Because he was just so frustrated. And both nights him and his girlfriend were ordering food in, takeout. And both nights they ordered ramen. And I just off the cuff make the comment. I said, "Hey man, you're in New York, get some pizza." And he's like, "Dude, if you don't know, New York is the world capital of ramen noodles." so when we had him on the podcast, I remember having said that to him about the pizza, and that's where we went off on the ramen thing. So. Anyways, what do you say we switch gears and talk about a little bit of PvP?
What?
Okay, I'm out.
PvP.
Yeah.
So
kind of like how it's going to be in Destiny 3. Eh?
Yes, news dropped that it's not going to be in Destiny 3.
Totally legit. Also, the Earth is flat.
Mm-hmm. So, thoughts, comments, questions?
You're staring.
Oh, sorry, guys. It was a visual bit. My bad.
He was imitating your freeze, is what he was doing.
I know. I'm sorry.
What? No, isn't. So I know none of us here are huge. Like, I'll play PvP, but I'm not like going out of my way. But it's such a staple of the game, whether you like it or not. Like, if the rumor was true, which we know it's not because we're not idiots.
Oh man, I thought we were doing the whole.
Oh, never mind. A fraction of us are not idiots. It'd kill the game, honestly, if they didn't do it. I mean, I know people that I've got really close friends that the only thing they do in this game is play PvP. That's the only reason they play, or people that like both.
True. I have a contact. I have a source.
Okay, so only 1 out of 3 people here are not idiots.
Can we phrase it as I would like to believe that it's true?
You just don't play it. It's not that big a thing.
Exactly. But, I mean, I guess...
But yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Let's dive into your comment a little bit. You say that you don't think Destiny would survive it? If they took it out?
Absolutely not. I mean, the only way they could is if, like, they took the resources from doing PvP and made PvE, like, beyond anything you could possibly imagine. Other than that, I don't think they could pull through.
And then, and it would be some more, you would lose some people, but hopefully you would gain some people too. And I guess the business people on that side have to decide, is the loss versus win, is it going to be better in the long run? I think I
see it. Yeah.
Where's Elmmer?
Oh, I thought he was bent over. I was like, I think I see a butt.
Oh no, that's
just happened to
just
be
balding.
your shoulder.
Don't mind me.
So, I'm sorry we interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
No.
I was just going to say that. Okay. I think it's an interesting idea. Since I don't enjoy the PvP side as much, selfishly, I'm like, okay, if they could make a great game, something where it's just a PvE looter shooter, loot for days, millions of things that you can grind for, but it's fun, tons of story missions, 10 times as many raids, I'd be happy with that. That's all I do anyways. But I'm not going to say that the PvP players out there shouldn't be upset if it goes away. That being said, too, I already feel like a lot of people have left the game on the PvP side. So, yeah.
So, do you feel like they've left the game, though, or do you feel like it's more like they're just putting it on the back burner because there's so much other... I mean, everybody keeps saying there's so many great games out there right now and so many new games or whatever that are popping up. And is it just more like, okay, they're just wanting to go try out all the different games that are out there? And I mean, I've seen content creators get blown up for just going off and trying a new game for a minute. And I'm wondering if that's more the issue, where these content creators are like, I'm not just a Destiny person. I want to go try something new. I want to go try the next, the Apex or the Battlefield or, Anthem or whatever game, that, what is it, Sekiro? What is it, the other one? Sekiro that just came out a week ago?
Sekiro.
Is that... Okay. So, I mean, there's so much content out there.
Give me a second.
No, you're right. A lot of people do just leave temporarily and come back, but I also know people that do leave more long-term, and sometimes they don't come back, and unless PvP changes, they're probably not going to be coming back unless there's some huge reason. I play with people that I feel like to raid and they like to do some of the PvE stuff, but then I realize they're really just in it for a little bit and to get the stuff they need for PvP, and that's perfectly acceptable and fine. And I like to hear their opinions, and they say right now there's not much of a reason for them to play unless things change, and I don't know when it'll be changing anytime soon. They will be coming back. So it kind of feels like ever since Forsaken came out, even maybe a little bit before, but they put so much into the PvE part, which I loved. I didn't mind the power level grind. I didn't mind the millions of things to do. But I saw people get frustrated with that and like, why do we have to do all these things where there's not as many PvP things we can do to power level up? So I almost feel like you could also say the question is, can a game try to do too much and not be good at one particular thing?
See, I would almost ask the question, when they release this new content, they tie in the old content to it. And it's content that, depending on how much you play the game, you've probably seen over and over, and you're just so burned out of it. I'm like I was telling Rick before he left for vacation. I'm unlocking Forges now because I wanted to wait until all of that was there before I jumped into it. I took some time off from playing Destiny for a while, and I'm going back and I'm going to the EDZ and I'm going to Nessus and I'm running that stupid Vex public event trying to unlock the third Forge, where you have the Spire one, and you do it. I think you end up doing it 6 or 7 times before you actually get the unlock done. And it's like, I've already run this thing 40, 50, 60 times or more, before I had to unlock the Forge. And I'm just going, when I get new content, the last thing I want to do is jump back and do the old stuff. And I understand from a creative side, they can't build all new things for you to do, so they have to tie in a little bit. But to bring in new content and try to supplement the default with the old stuff, at times gets very old also. And I wonder if people are just burned out. They're like, I've seen this. It's like, how many times can you go to the movie theater and watch the same movie is almost what it feels like.
Sure. Well, I do believe people are burnt out. I mean, I got to a point even a little bit before Black Armory dropped, but for sure when it dropped, when I was going through my milestones, I'm like, I don't want to do Dreaming City Senate challenges again. I'm like, forget that, like it was like last on my list of things to do. But at the same time, I feel like some of the people that are burnt out, they haven't even experienced everything in the game, and maybe they don't want to. That's fine. But if they say they're burnt out, and if they haven't tried all the raids, if they haven't done some of the more unique little hidden quests, I sometimes wonder if if I could teach them those things. Like, well, this is why raiding's fun, and I've seen not everyone thinks the way I do, and they shouldn't. But I've seen some people that even when they are burnt out, they start getting into raiding and they enjoy it, and that can work during the downtime.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, so this isn't on our run sheet or notes sheet. Let's talk about just the quality of the raids, if you don't mind. Okay, go back to D1. They had 4 raids, if I remember right. All of them except for Crota had some pretty decent length to them. The Crota one was kind of a short raid, but still had some unique things that we'd never seen, like, running up to those light 100%. Poles, getting, and it had some interesting mechanics and stuff. Do you feel like the D2 raids, and I guess I should say it this way, do you feel like the D2 raid is actually a decent raid? Because I don't consider these layers to be raids. I consider them to be long strikes.
Well, even if you do that, there's still 2 raids.
How's that?
Last Wish and Leviathan are both raids.
Okay.
And then the layers. Well, no, I understand the question. Yeah, I brought up this exact discussion on some other podcasts and with people, and I love the D1 raids. I get it. I want to go back. In fact, I'm trying to find people to play the D1 raids with. So if anyone wants to play on 4, let's do it.
I'm down anytime.
And I love raiding the raids.
I hope you got a backpack for a fat guy, but I'm down.
Dude, he got me through stuff.
He froze, man. He's like, right, I'm out. I can't carry a fat guy.
I'm out. No, I can. I believe you said you play on Xbox, but did you say you have a PlayStation?
Oh no, I'm a PS4. I have a PS4. That's where I came from, and then obviously PC from day one of PC. I have an Xbox that has probably 2 inches of dust on it.
Got it. Got it. No, I'm down. Let's do that. And you have Crota, the party raid that anyone can hop in and get it done quickly. You have King's Fall, this ultimate pinnacle experience. Vault of Glass, great exploration, and even the last one, Wrath of the Machine. I love that one. I ran that one probably 80 times, and great raids. Now,
I have one clear on Wrath of the Machine. So I could never get a fire team that was willing to go in there and play that one.
Really? Yeah, we had a lot of people playing at the end. Yeah. But to answer the question on the D2 raids, I do feel like, to kind of answer it, I want to say like Leviathan was a pretty good raid, but it never really gave this sense of awe to me like something like King's Fall or Wrath of the Machine or Vault of Glass. Maybe it was because of the central hub you always come back to. I didn't really love the art style as much as some people did. I appreciate the talent that they did building that raid. It was a good raid, but I didn't have that sense of awe. Last Wish was the first raid in D2 where I really had a sense of awe. It was like a King's Fall. It was like, this is big, this is beautiful. You can insert joke here, ElmmerFudd, but
I was muted, but you know what I was thinking.
Yes. But awesome raid. And the raid layers, I love either world. It's a fun raid, even though it's short. Fire Stars, not so much. And the new raid, I'm just getting enough clears now where I'm starting to like it more.
Okay, haven't gotten to touch the newest raid, and only 1 clear or 2 clears on Eater of Worlds, because every time we go in there a lot and fail, and I run into a situation where guys in my clan and LFG groups and everything else, they get in there, they get frustrated, and they bounce.
Yeah.
If you don't have a couple of really skilled people that can pull them through, they just kind of bounce. And I've run into that a lot where it's like people are just like, I'm not good at this, I quit. So,
It's about finding. I kind of look at it as like, I'm not trying to claim I'm a Sherpa or whatever, but when I am in there with people that haven't run it, you kind of have to be in like a conductor and know people's strengths and weaknesses and say like, hey, you guys are going to do the shooting, you guys are going to do the defending, and
you almost have to coach a little bit. So
Yeah, it helps. It helps being like a dad with young kids to Sherpa people because you're just very like, okay, it's fine.
But
Just breathe. Calm. We're gonna make it through this.
It helps being chill because tempers will flare. I'm a pretty chill guy, so like, and there's been probably one time where I almost left a raid because the guys were just being outrageously annoying and stupid.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
They were tilting so much. It wasn't your raid, Elmer. You know that. I love you, but this was back in Wrath of the Machine days. But and I'm like, guys, we just got to be chill. We're never going to get done. And then actually they did chill, and then we got it done. So
I've found in those situations, if you can get everybody to agree to take like a 5-minute break and just walk away, clear their mind.
100%.
Some guys are sitting there jonesing for a cigarette or a drink or whatever the case is. You just go away 5-10 minutes, come back, start over, and then generally what I found is you get it done in like 1 or 2 runs after that break.
Exactly.
You're like, oh. But so. Elmer, you missed it a little bit. The question was kind of about the quality of the raids. Do they feel like they have dropped down from D1 to D2? And then the reason why I'm rehashing that is I wanted to ask if you feel that's the case. Is there a way to bring back that quality? Like, what do you think is missing? Is kind of.
I don't think. I think it's just different. I don't think the quality's gone down. It's just kind of a different style. Because like. Eater of Worlds, that last fight is one of the coolest things I've ever done in Destiny, period. Like, that is such an intricate, insanely fun fight. The Leviathan, definitely very different, but I think that one you could probably say is not to the D1 standards, but as a separate set piece. It's just a big party.
Did Leviathan feel like 3 or I guess probably 4 like missions that they kind of put a linchpin together to hold them all together with that room where you ran in and fought everybody and planted those flags? That's kind of what it felt like to me. It felt like they were trying 4 different ideas that they wanted to put together. And then they just put that linchpin with that center room where you had to unlock the door, or you could go through the underbelly and not have to do it.
Did you have like how quickly did you clear Leviathan? Like
the first time through?
Yeah.
Probably 8-9 hours, and then now with the couple of the guys I run with, we can get it done in 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. The Leviathan will always kind of hold a special place in my heart because I was I didn't really have any friends that were raiding at that level, or that we had the same time schedule. So it was my first time ever just LFGing completely with an entire group, and so I was meeting people every night. We were playing. And the first time I cleared it, I was actually out of town, across country, visiting my grandparents. So I was on the PS4. I'd brought my tiny little computer monitor. It was sitting on their fireplace. I was sitting on an air mattress with the PS4 hooked up to that when I beat the Leviathan. So like that'll always be like a really special memory because it's so different. But
hey, Grandma, I'm gonna come visit. I'm gonna come play video games.
Well, it's not like I was there all day. Like. I'm gonna play video games. Like, they're old, all right, so they went to bed super early, and I'm not, and so I stayed up and I raided.
Okay.
And met really cool people and made some weird jokes. I'm glad my grandparents didn't hear, and wham bam, thank you, ma'am, he died. So, but back to the topic at hand though. I didn't really do the Spire Stars. I don't know why that did not appeal to me. So, but Last Wish, I think really. If that had launched in D1, I think it would have fit perfectly with everything else we had. I think that is like... Last Wish is one of my favorite raids. It is... Because it's darker. Like, I think... What is a big topic we've talked about on our show is it's more like... Destiny 2 feels more... it's a brighter game. Not just like color palette. Because they did change the color palette. But like tone. It's a much lighter tone than D1 where it was very dark. And so when Last Wish came and we're like, oh my god, they're going back to the roots again. And then I haven't been in the new one, but I'm assuming it's kind of darker too, right? The Scourge.
Not exactly. I mean, I guess you could say darker than Leviathan, but it's just
in
the city, the nighttime, so it's dark for that reason.
Hey.
Then it actually switches to the daytime. Funny enough.
But no, I think all the raids have been absolutely phenomenal, and they all stand out for different reasons. I don't think they were like. Drop the ball coming into D2 for raids.
Okay, so I guess maybe what I should clean up my statement by saying the overall length of some of the raids has been really really short. Like you can obviously tell they were designed to be done hour, maybe 2 hours at the most. Obviously, when you're going through and learning, it takes a lot longer, but you get to a point where people figure out some of the tricks and stuff, and your light level increases, your guns increase, your ability increases, and then you can get through them pretty quick. So, does it feel like there's been any drop or decrease, or is that maybe Bungie kind of responding to the people that were out there saying the raids are too long, it's too hard, only 11 or 15 or 10 or 9% or whatever the hell number they come up with that's cleared it? Is that them responding to that?
Oh, 100%, absolutely. Yeah. It's still a really low number of people in Destiny 2 that have ever done a raid, but yeah, it's staggering how low the percentage was. So, and they put so much time and effort into that content. Of course, you want more people to see it.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I feel like even though I, overall enjoy the raids in D1 more, I feel like the amount of content in D2 for raids is almost better at this point. I mean, in D1 we had 3 long raids and 1 short raid. Mm-hmm. Now we have 2 long raids, well, 2 kind of long, and 3 short raids. And there's even going to be 1 more short raid, whatever. So I think they're doing a pretty good job of getting more content out there.
100%.
So now, with all of this talk about it, since we've been going on about raids way longer than we thought, do you think we're going to have one more short one, or one more layer, I guess? Is there another raid in Destiny 2's future? And if not, there's a rumor going around that D3 is going to launch with 2. Does that make sense? So, because they always launch with 1. But does it make sense for them to come out with 2? And then what would be kind of your hopes for any future raids? What are you looking for? Because it is kind of their signature piece for Destiny, kind of like how WoW was. Their raids were their signature piece for each of their expansions. And how do you get more people into them? What do you got to do to get more people to do it? I mean, right now there's a rumor that says it's going to be a 12-man raid when D3 launches. I don't know if you've seen that level of bullshit.
I haven't seen that rumor yet. I hope this last raid is something interesting, or Eater of Worlds style, where the boss is something like a big bad Vex guy or something like that. I doubt it will be, but I just love the boss fight in that encounter. Even though it's a shorter raid, it's one of the best boss battles of any of the D2 raids, in my opinion. The cooperation and the movement that it has in this boss battle. So I hope if there's another raid in D2, I think there will be, especially where you have another year of content, there's got to be at least another big raid. Boy, D3, 2 raids, that's pretty cool.
It's a rumor, and normally we don't even talk rumors. It was just something I read, and I was like, that's an interesting thought. That's what made me think it for tonight, is a possibility for 2 raids going, D3.
I mean, they could, because there's not going to be any PvPs. They can use all that stuff
right.
To
that's
go into
what
raids.
Maybe it's a PvP raid.
Oh,
12-man
raid.
Yeah, there you go. But so I'm just curious as to what does Bungie need to do to get more people in, since that is their big set piece for their expansions or their content drops. What do you have to do? Because there's so many people that play alone. There's so many people that don't have 6 friends that are on. Like right now, my entire fire team or clan, they're off playing Apex, Anthem, and Division 2. I got 2 or 3 guys out of 20 that are on, 3-4 nights a week. So
yeah, I think I did it again. There's so much stuff happening in my house right now. I got it. So I think the raid races are a huge thing that they do, right? But I think the problem is they don't show anything with raids after that. Mm-hmm. So anyone that's not already raiding, there's a lot of people that don't raid that watch that. They think that's what raiding is that level. It's going to take that long, and you have to be at that skill level. Because once the raid race is over, no one talks about it unless you're actively searching for a group. And so there's so many people out there. It's just intimidating. It's the same way in any MMO, any game that's got raids. Most of the player base is scared to do them because it's intimidating unless they know otherwise. So it's just, the more groups you have out there chirping, Which, I mean, every day you have just hundreds of people getting through these raids finally that have never done one. And, it's just the more word gets out that, like, hey, that's not what it is the whole time. Like, just get in here, give it a whirl, give it a try. I don't think there's anything really Bungie can do on their end without making, like, run through this field of flowers and pick up the rock and you get your loot and that's our raid. Like, it's really on the community to not make raiding this big, scary pinnacle event thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kingsley, any thoughts?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. I mean, one thing is it's hard for people jumping into the raids for a while, right? Because of the power level requirement. And a lot of times by the time you could be power level ready, you may have lost some interest in the game, or there's less people to find a raid. There's never not enough people. You can find people on the LFG and Discord groups, but I think that power level requirement also kind of stops some people from wanting to do the raid, because by the time they get to that power level, maybe they've almost, like, I don't know, forgotten it's the right word, but it's like, now I want to raid. It's like everyone was raiding at the beginning. Now it's like we got to find a group, and it's kind of a pain, right?
Yeah.
I've had some slight frustrations on the power level thing too. You could say that, and for good reason, the people for World's First, it's a competition, it's a fun thing to watch, and only the 24-hour streamers are going to be the ones that can get to those power levels to do it on night one. I never expect to be World's First. I don't want to, but I still want to hop in the raid on the first weekend it comes out and have some fun. Mm-hmm. And Leviathan, I felt like, was the only raid where we could have done that. Eater World's a little bit. All these other raids since, even for a semi-hardcore player like me, it's been kind of impossible to get my power level up enough in time to experience the raid. So if I'm feeling that, imagine even the other people that, like, don't raid that much, like, I'm never going to get around to raiding. And then it just kind of
Eater
off their mind.
Eater of Worlds, except for a little bit of it, didn't even feel like it was light level dependent or power level dependent, because it was a jumping puzzle and then, all that. Other than that boss, the boss battle at the end, it didn't feel like power level really mattered. So at least you could go in there, experience the new set pieces, see that place was gorgeous. On PC, it was absolutely stunning. You could see all that, and then go, okay, now I got to work to get back here to make it, to actually complete it. But you could see it.
Oh yeah, and you could see everything, even to the last boss, without firing a shot.
So
yeah.
All right. So all right. On that note, we are pushing an hour, guys, and Elmer, it sounds like you got a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah, my daughter decided to jump off a piece of furniture and hurt herself really bad. So
all right. So
fine.
On that note, so while his kids,
she just thinks it's worse.
While his kids are on their way to the hospital, why don't we call it a night here? And I'm going to ask you, Kingsley, where can we find you, your podcast, and your co-host?
Sure. You can find me as Kingsley Mac on PlayStation. On Twitter, I am MC Kingsley, because Kingsley isn't available yet. And
I love I said yet.
I know, right? Our show is The Guardian Hub. You can find us on Twitter as The Guardian Hub. You can find our website, theguardianhub.com. And anywhere where you like to get your podcast, you should be able to find us. And my co-host is Sin, and that's spelled C-Y-N. On PlayStation, he is known as Blue Angel Sin. And on Twitter, he is known as Sin_media.
All right. Elmer, what about you?
You can find the show. I host Just Some Guardians. We're on iTunes, Podbean, a few other places. Just Some Guardians. Twitter at JSGcast. Email us justsomiguardians@gmail.com. As for myself, ElmmerFuddGames. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at ElmmerFuddGames. MMD.
All right, guys, and just so everybody knows, we will drop all the links down in the audio description, and I'll probably have a Twitter post go up with all your links too here in the next 24 hours when we post the audio version. And on that note, we'd like to say goodnight. And any final thoughts?
No, it's been great. Thank you very much. Nice to see your beautiful face, Elmer.
Oh, it's beautiful to see you, buddy.
We're just going to have a little love fest over here while you go.
PvP community. Good luck.
We'll miss you. Bye.